Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Justyna, and if you're a returning viewer, welcome back and thank you for joining me today. So here today I'm going to talk about the upcoming full moon on December the 4th at 13 degrees of Gemini. So here every full moon connects to a bigger story. This isn't just some random event. In astrology we look at cycles. So this full moon connects to the new moon that took place on June the 6th 2024. Yes, we're looking at new moons that are generally at a similar degree to the full moon, and in the gestational lunar cycle that lasts 2 years and 7 months, here we follow a story every 9 months starting from the new moon. So here this full moon is happening at 13 degrees, that new moon at 16 degrees. Can you connect a story that started during June 2024 to this story that is coming to light, culmination around December the 4th? All right, so first of all, if you have any placements at 13 degrees of one of the mutable signs, mutable energy here, which is very flexible, adaptable as well, and it's about going with a flow. So here, if you have any placements at around 13 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or a Virgo, then you will be under greater influence of this full moon. But also, if your birthday is on the 4th of December, happy birthday. This coming year will bring some endings, culminations, and perhaps even major breakthroughs. A full moon occurs when the sun and the moon are in the opposing signs. So we've got the full moon at 13 degrees of Gemini. Simultaneously, the sun is at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. All right, so here, mutable energy. Yes, here we've got Gemini is a mutable earth sign. So here, lunations in mutable signs generally here require flexibility, adaptability, but at the same time, these are changeable times, without a doubt. Something else I wanted to highlight is that the 13th degree of Gemini is ruled by Venus. So there is an element of that Venusian energy which is very much connected to peace, balance, harmony, which is what many of us really want at this point in our lives, of course, with everything that's going on in the world. Let's have a look at the placements happening at this time, because of course, full moons, during a full moon, our emotions, our feelings are intensified, and so is our intuition. But at the same time, since the Gemini is a sign of duality, this is also very often when we are in two minds, or perhaps when we have to decide between two different scenarios, two different paths. So there is generally here that this sort of full moon can make us feel restless at time. And here it's a good time to generally see the pros and cons of any decisions we want to take, any direction we want to take. Now, the good thing is that the ruler of this full moon is now in a direct motion, still in the post-shadow period phase, if you will, until the 16th of December. But here the retrograde phase of Mercury is over. So this also indicates that it's easier to make decisions, it's easier to see things through their true color. At this point, we've got the nodes at 13 degrees of Pisces and Virgo, at the very same degree as the full moon, which I actually also discussed in the monthly horoscopes. So when I told you that here we are dealing with the past and the future simultaneously, but with the nodal axis activated, this is often a chance to let go of the past, of generally whatever fulfilled its purpose no longer aligns with the direction we are heading. And this way we make space for new energies, new people, new opportunities to come into light. On a different level here, with the nodal axis being activated, with the full moon squaring the south and the north node here, in the evolutionary astrology we would call it skipped step. So generally, for some people, this could also manifest as a repeated lesson. Generally, the universe creating a situation to highlight, to show us, to emphasize the lessons that we need to learn, integrate into our reality. So it could be connected to a repeated lesson, a strong realization, perhaps an opportunity to choose differently, something that perhaps we've been avoiding, something that we've been delaying. Now is coming to light, now it needs to be addressed, now it needs to be resolved. Returning back into Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, which is now in a direct motion, as I mentioned earlier. Here, Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio. Now, in traditional astrology, when a Mercury is in one of the water signs, here the water signs are considered mute signs. So with Mercury in a water sign here in Scorpio, it's about speaking less, but observing, feeling more. Mercury in Scorpio wants honesty, wants profoundness, wants precision. Nothing superficial, surface level will satisfy us. Here, under the influence of these energies, conversations can feel very profound, very deep. And this is when we seek honesty. This is a chance to get to the root of any problem, anything that has been on your mind, that has been bothering you. All right, so without overcomplicating the matter, let's have a look how this full moon will influence your sign on a deeper level. We'll look at each zodiac sign. These horoscopes are most accurate for your ascendant sign, also called the rising sign. However, you can also watch them for your moon sign and your sun sign just to get a bigger picture and a wider perspective upon your life. So thank you very much and let's begin. All right. Hello, Aries, and welcome to the full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here, this full moon activates your third house, and at the same time, have a look if you have any placements at around 13 degrees of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, because this means that you will be under a greater influence of this full moon. This full moon connects to the new moon that took place on the 6th of June 2024. And that's if we look at it from the gestation lunar cycle. So during a full moon, something that you've been working on from behind the scenes, perhaps a project, a contract, whatever the scenario, your collaboration, your connection, something is coming to light here. And the third house deals with communication, our immediate environment, our neighbors, siblings, next of kin, short distance travel, but also anything to do with communication, contracts, decisions, news. So during a full moon in Gemini, the sign connected to communication, words, intellectual energy overall here. During this time here, you might be making some important decisions. You might receive an interesting opportunity. But here, since Gemini is the sign of duality, this could also indicate that perhaps two different opportunities may arise. So perhaps you might have to decide between two different scenarios, two different paths. So make sure that you have full clarity before taking a step forward. Make sure that everything is clear before you decide. Now, Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is in the sign of Scorpio. Now, in the direct motion now, not yet out of the post-shadow period. This ends on the 16th of December. But here with Mercury in Scorpio, it's more about feeling, observing rather than speaking. Here, Mercury in Scorpio needs depth. Mercury in Scorpio needs, it's direct, but also nothing on a surface level and superficial is going to satisfy you during this time. So overall here with a full moon also being connected to culmination, turning point, this could be also connected to perhaps a major turning point in your educational learning journey, or perhaps anything to do with a driving license test, a website launch. You might be launching a website, launching a business. There is movement, there is action, communication. That's the third house energy, versatility. So just go with the flow and see how things work. Don't be afraid to ask questions here, especially with Mercury being in the sign of Scorpio. Here, whatever has been hidden is now coming to light. It needs a resolution. It needs attention as well. So this isn't a time to generally to react impulsively to any news opportunities that emerge. Here, the Gemini full moon Gemini energy is connected to thoughtful, grounded communication, especially since Mercury and Saturn connect by a lovely trine. So this also gives an opportunity for generally the decisions that you take around this time. They can have lasting results. All right, so thank you very much. And now here, Taurus, welcome to your full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here, this full moon activates your second house of resources, money, possessions, finances. So a full moon reveals something that has been generally taking place beneath the surface. It comes into light. Remember, this full moon connects to the new moon that took place on the 6th of June 2024. So here, this is connected to your money situation, to your income situation. The second house deals with money we earn through our own skills and efforts. It's not the money that is just given to us or that we earn through commissions, bonuses, investments. That's the 8th house. The second house deals with money that we earn through our own independent actions, through our income, our business as well. All right, so here, think about that new moon from 2024, June as well. But overall here with the new full moon in Gemini, Gemini is the sign of duality as well. So you might be deciding between two different scenarios, two different paths. Make sure that you see the pros and cons of each, because it's generally with Gemini energy being so active around this time, the negative manifestation of this energy could result in racing thoughts, overthinking, restlessness as well. So this is a kind of energy that requires some thoughtful, grounded thinking, especially since Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is now out of the retrograde phase in the sign of Scorpio, which is more about feeling, observing rather than speaking too much. Here we've got depth, we've got profoundness, and the need to get to the root of anything that comes our way. So overall, this full moon is amazing for budgeting, financial planning. Perhaps this could be about making an important purchase. Perhaps you might have this really strong need to let go of resources, possessions that no longer serve any purpose. Very often with the full moon in the second house, we have a strong need to declutter and to clear our space. So here, while Mercury trines Saturn, also trines Jupiter, so of course we've got a beautiful water trine, grand trine, which heightens our intuitions, our feelings as well. But at the same time, with Jupiter's gentle influence and connection to the ruler of this full moon, this also indicates that the decisions that you make around this time could lead to positive outcomes. So there are lots of opportunities here under the influence of this full moon for growth, for financial growth, for establishing financial security, stability. But at the same time, here with full moon, this could be very much connected to a turning point in your career journey as well. Perhaps this could be when, for some, this could manifest as a moment of recognition, some financial gains. Could be also related to perhaps launching of a business or a side hustle as well. We're looking at these financial goals, objectives, opportunities from a long-term perspective with the grand water trine activation, but also we've got the square to the nodes. So we are also perhaps moving away from what no longer serves us, especially here in the financial area of your chart. So thank you so much, Taurus. And now let's have a look at Gemini. Gemini's welcome to your full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here, this full moon activates your first house, your sign. So a really important full moon of the year for you, because it generally illuminates the area of the self, your identity, your physical appearance as well. So it's a very personal energy connected to a personal rebirth, personal reinvention. Now your ruler Mercury is now out of the retrograde phase. So here, amazing. I know how Mercury retrograde impacts Gemini Rising. My daughter is a Gemini, has a Gemini ascendant, and I can see how it was a very introverted period, but also it brought some miscommunication and a certain degree of misunderstandings in a social in her social circle. So now Mercury is out of the retrograde phase, so you can take a deep breath. We still have the post-shadow period until the 16th of December, but here generally this is a momentum, a forward momentum, a full moon without a doubt. And this is also when you have this amazing opportunity to experience a renewed sense of direction. Full moon in your first house, this is when you finally gain clarity that perhaps you may have lacked in the last few weeks since Mercury, your ruler, was retrograde. Your ruler is now in the sign of Scorpio, and it forms a trine to both Saturn and Jupiter. So we've got a beautiful grand trine which can bring a lot of harmonious, peaceful energy, especially since the 13th degree of Gemini is ruled by Venus, which also further influences that or contributes to that positive, easy flow of energy. Whatever you decide around this time, it can have lasting results. Make your choices wisely. If you are in two minds, give yourself some time, write it down if you have to, before fully committing, before making this important decision. But at the same time, with Jupiter being positively influenced by this new moon, this also indicates that the decisions, those thoughtful, grounded decisions, can have positive outcomes as well. So overall, with the full moon being in your first house, this is a time to prioritize yourself, your needs, your desires, and don't feel guilty about this, because this is your chance. This is your chance to reinvent yourself. This is a chance for a personal rebirth in a way as well. So you might feel like you want to change your hairstyle, you might feel like you want to change your style, you might feel like you want to pamper yourself, but at the same time, you might finally see the results, the outcomes of your hard effort. Now, with the nodes being activated by this full moon, this is a chance also to let go and release from your life what no longer serves your growth, especially since we are at the end of the year. So a great time for creating a vision map and for planning your year ahead, because we're approaching a really important 7 to 8 years of your life since Uranus is coming to Gemini. So take this full moon to release any habits, energies, emotional burdens that hold you back, that make it difficult for you to move forward with your life, with your goals. So thank you so much, Geminis. And now Cancers, welcome to this full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here, this one is a little bit more introverted for Cancers, because this full moon will be taking place in your 12th house. The 12th house deals with hidden matters and the subconscious patterns as well, but also with our addictions, anything to do with negative self-talk or some habits that don't serve you any good. During 12th house energies, solitude and withdrawal is something that is not only needed, it's necessary, because this is when you can recharge your energies. This is when you can also gain clarity about generally things that have been on your mind. It's a very personal full moon. It's a very private full moon, so you might feel like you want to take some time for yourself, you want to spend time on your own, spend time in nature, or maybe with people that are close to you, people that you can be, you're okay being yourself around. People that generally are very close to you, and people that with whom you feel comfortable. Generally, with the 12th house energies, you absorb other people's energies very easily, which can drain you. That's why spending time alone is necessary to cleanse yourself, to go through this major detox, which is so needed. But at the same time, very often with the full moon in the 12th house, there's a lot happening at work, in your daily life. So here you need a balance. You need a balance in order to avoid a burnout, avoid exhaustion. So make sure that you find some time for rest. Make sure that you find some time for journaling or for doing things that help you relax, detox if needed. But at the same time, with Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, the ruler of your 12th house, being in Scorpio, the sign of profoundness, transformation here. This could also indicate that you'll be a lot in your mind and you'll be thinking deeply about things that are going on in your life. And at the same time, the decisions that you make around this time, they can have a lasting effect. Mercury forms a trine to both Saturn and Jupiter. So there is a lot of positivity in the air here, without a doubt, even though we've got a karmic undertone with the nodal axis being activated, which generally want or help you to release what no longer serves you, so that you can start the new year feeling this renewed sense of self. So overall, this is a full moon to rest, reflect, withdraw, contemplate, spend time in nature, or you might enjoy a bath with salt, like a nice bath salt. And at the same time, during this full moon, you might feel more sensitive, you might feel more nostalgic as well. So surround yourself with positive experiences, positive energies and people. So thank you very much, Cancers. It will probably affect me as well, because here I'm a Cancer sun. So if you're a Cancer sun, this full moon will probably also affect you slightly deeply, because even if we look at the chart from the sun sign perspective, I noticed that it also influences me. So if you feel like generally you need to be alone, if you feel like low in your energy, then make sure that you prioritize self-care during this time. All right, so thank you so much, Cancers. And now Leos, welcome to this full moon in Gemini horoscope. This is the final full moon of 2025. We are moving into 2026, and here this full moon form, generally we've got lots of different energies, lots of positivity. We've got a karmic undertone with the full moon forming a square to the nodal axis as well, which generally is about shifting away from any things that don't no longer serve us anymore. The nodes are currently in your second and the 8th house. So this could be like a transformative full moon in a way, especially since we've got the north node in your 8th house, the south node activated in your 2nd house. But at the same time, this is a full moon when for some this could manifest as wanting to treat yourself to some positive or a pleasant, nurturing experience, for example. But at the same time, this energy is also about shifting away from habits, energies that no longer serve your growth. It's a great time for doing so as we start this brand new year. But at the same time, we've got a beautiful water grind trine. Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is in Scorpio. But before I get there, this full moon activates your area of friendships, your area of groups that you belong to, your long-term goals as well. So you will be going through these big shifts in the upcoming years with Uranus coming into this area of your life. So you may have already felt some shifts and slight changes between here in the area of friendships and groups you belong to between July and the beginning of November, when Uranus was here in this area of your life. But here with a full moon in the 11th house, we will become more aware of the people that are in our life, that of the groups that we belong to. For some, this could manifest as an eye-opening experience. Perhaps you might realize that someone that seemed like a friend is actually not. So very often with full moon, this is when we realize things that perhaps seemed foggy or confusing suddenly become very clear. This could be connected to an end of a certain connection in your life. You might realize that this particular connection doesn't serve you any good. Now, on a different level, this could be a significant turning point in one of your friendships, in a group that you belong to. You might realize that it's time to and your membership within a certain organization. Maybe you're changing a gym. Maybe perhaps this could be about a completion of a major project. Whatever the scenario here, your friendships, your groups, social circles, networking groups of some kind, this is highlighted here. Could be an eye-opening full moon when you realize who is your friend, what kind of groups you want to belong to. And it's all about alignment and misalignment. And at the same time, the ruler of this full moon is in Scorpio and is now out of the retrograde phase as well. So there is a forward momentum taking place as well. Mercury in Scorpio is more about feeling on a deeper level, observing rather than speaking too much communication. It's more about observing. And at the same time, Mercury in Scorpio can be very direct, can be very deep. So you seek profoundness, you seek depth. And if something isn't clear, you want to get to the root of any problem issue that comes here into light. Now here, this energy is Mercury in your fourth house. This could also relate to your emotional well-being, your family situation, something needing resolution, something needing to be addressed. But the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, is forming a beautiful trine to Saturn and Jupiter with a grand water trine, which also indicates that this is not a time to react impulsively to whatever that comes up around this time. This is a time to be grounded in your communication style, to be thoughtful in terms of how you express your thoughts, ideas during this time as well. So as you can see, a mix of energies, but the decisions that you take around this time, those grounded decisions especially, they will likely have lasting results. All right, so thank you so much, Leos. And now Virgos, welcome to this full moon in Gemini horoscope. It's a really important full moon because Gemini and Virgo, they are both ruled by the same planet, which is Mercury. Mercury is now out of the retrograde phase, still in the post-shadow period until the 16th of December. But generally with Mercury now in a direct motion, it's easier to make decisions. It's easier to see things to their true colors. So this is actually really positive. We'll get to that in a moment. But first of all, this full moon is a really important full moon because it activates this important area of your life, which is the 10th house, which deals with your public life, public image, anything to do with your career, professional life growth and development. Very often with a full moon in the 10th house, we become more visible. We hear the full moon, the moon is fully illuminated. Think about what you started in this area of your life, which is much easier to remember rather than what happened in the 5th house of creativity or the 12th house, for example. Here with the 10th house, think about those new beginnings that occurred, were initiated, took place back in June 2024, because during this full moon, something that has been generally happening in your career could now come to a culmination, a turning point. It could be about a major breakthrough in your career. You might be changing jobs, starting a new job, launching a business. Perhaps it could be about some positive feedback and a new opportunity, a new professional connection. Whatever the scenario here, this is a forward momentum for you in this area of your life. And of course, remember, the next 7 to 8 years will be really significant. There will be lots of different shifts taking place because Uranus is coming here next year in April. You had a little taste of this energy back in July and August, September, October. And during this full moon here at 13 degrees, this is when you become more visible, more noticeable, opportunities may come your way. So this could be very much connected to a new direction, a new career, new business, opportunities. Keep your eye open. This isn't a time to hide away. Without a doubt. We've got also the activation of the nodes, and the south node in your first house, the north node in your seventh house. So this also indicates that there's a karmic undertone. And for some, this could manifest as perhaps an important lesson repeating. And here is a chance to make it right. This could be also connected to letting go of what no longer serves you. Maybe a connection, maybe a habit that generally affect your growth and that block blocks your ability to feel confident within your own life, skin, if you will, body. But at the same time, we also have a beautiful water trine. So here, the Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, connects with both Saturn and Jupiter by a trine. So here, this isn't a time to react impulsively, aggressively. This is a time to generally, it's a time for thoughtful communications, decisions. And here, Gemini is the sign of duality. So if you have to decide between two different scenarios, two different paths, give yourself some time, see the pros and cons before fully committing. Because with Mercury in Scorpio, this is about getting to the root of anything that comes up. This is about seeking clarity. It's about clarifying as well things that aren't clear. Nothing of a surface level energy is not going to satisfy you. Here you need depth, profoundness, and raw energy as well. So on this note, thank you very much, and let's have a look at the next sign, Libra. Hello Libras, and welcome to your full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here this full moon activates your 9th house, which is connected to faraway travel, legal matters, your beliefs, your life philosophy, anything to do with self-growth, self-development related matters, but also travel and higher education. Full moons bring into light something that has been happening beneath the surface. So here this could be a major turning point in your educational journey. Perhaps if you have been involved in a legal matter, this could be also an end or a major, generally things taking a different turn, a different direction. Whatever the scenario here, this full moon could also see you traveling and engaging in educational matters, activities. Generally here, under the influence of this full moon, you crave information, you crave knowledge, versatility, flexibility, adaptability as well. So you could be completing a major project, a milestone as well. But this is a kind of energy that also wants to experiment, try something new, engage in something exciting, versatile. And think about the new moon that took place in the sign of Gemini back in June 2024. That full moon connects to this full moon here, if we look at it from the gestation lunar cycle. So here, whatever that you started in your educational journey, or perhaps it was connected to legal matters, immigration related matters, for example, educational goals, here now during this full moon, that project goal is now coming to a culmination, into light. And overall, this is a forward momentum, things taking a fresh perspective, a turning point. You might be completing a major milestone here as well. So whatever the scenario, this will generally depend on your circumstances. But here, this full moon could generally change your worldview. It could change your mindset or shift your mindset, especially when it comes to your beliefs, your life philosophy. Now, the ruler of this full moon is Mercury. Mercury is in Scorpio, and here Mercury in Scorpio is connected to feeling, observing rather than speaking. It's not about speaking too much. Mercury in Scorpio is one of the mute energies. So it's about understanding through your senses, through observing, through feeling, through experiencing. And perhaps here Mercury in Scorpio is more cautious before expressing their thoughts. But at the same time, this is an amazing full moon for researching, for diving deeper into complexities of a different nature. We've got a beautiful grand trine, water grand trine, which also indicates that this isn't a time to make impulsive decisions, to react impulsively to any news and anything that takes a different turn during this time. This is about thoughtful, grounded communication and decision-making process, with Mercury forming a trine to Saturn, and at the same time a trine to Jupiter, which could indicate positive outcomes as well. And we've got a square to the nodal axis, indicating that a fresh perspective is emerging, a change of mindset, a shift in your worldview. So thank you very much, Libras. And now Scorpios, welcome, fellow Scorpios. This full moon activates our 8th house. The 8th house deals with transformation, which is very much connected to Scorpio energy, which we are very much used to as well. Of course, every 8 to 9 years, there's this big shift in our lives. And here, Scorpio, of course, is traditionally associated with the 8th house energy. So here, we are familiar with depth, we are familiar with profoundness, transformation, rebirth kind of energies. So this full moon brings to light matters that started, or goals, projects, ideas back in June 2024 when this lunation cycle began. So this lunation cycle began in June 2024. If we look at it from the gestation lunar cycle perspective, which lasts 2 years and 7 months. All right, so we've got lots of depth, and during this full moon, this is when you might crave deep connections. This is when you might be dealing with matters connected to shared joint resources, anything to do with taxes, refunds, anything to do with inheritances, accounting, insurance as well, life insurance, health insurance, for instance. You might be dealing with some important financial agreements. This is an amazing full moon for resolving any emotional or financial entanglement as well. Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is in the sign of Scorpio. Mercury in Scorpio is it's more about observing, it's about analyzing rather than speaking too much. Mercury in Scorpio, and also this full moon forming a square to the north and the south node, it can really help you to identify, to understand what needs to change in your life. What needs to be addressed at this point in your life? Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, connects beautifully with Saturn and with Neptune. This can help you to stay grounded in their reality, but also this indicates that this isn't a time for any impulsive reactions, for making impulsive decisions. Here, Saturn wants stability, and the decisions that you make around this time, they will likely have lasting outcomes and results. The trine to Jupiter indicates positive outcomes as long as you make these decisions, as long as you take these steps forward in a thoughtful manner. Because Gemini is a sign of duality, so very often under the influence of Gemini energy, we have to deal with 2 different scenarios, 2 different paths. So for this reason, it's essential to choose wisely, see the pros and cons before fully committing. Mercury is now in a direct motion, still in the post-shadow until the 16th of December, but this also indicates a forward momentum, things moving forward rather than backwards. All right, so thank you very much, Scorpios. And now Sagittarius, welcome to your full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here, Gemini is the sign that opposes Sagittarius. So we've got the 7th house activation here, the area of contracts, relationships, anything to do with one-to-one dealings, unions, and overall here with a full moon, think about what you started, what connections, new connections. It could be a new friendship, it could be a relationship, a business partnership, or a new client relationship that was initiated during the new moon in Gemini that started this particular cycle in June 2024, if we look at it from the gestation cycle. So generally, people, situations, energies from that period in time could be also present here. Full moons bring to light whatever was beneath the surface. This is when we gain clarity. This is when we generally experience major revelations, turning points overall. So overall, this full moon brings this amazing opportunity for growth, for momentum within your partnerships, within your important relationships, whether these are business, platonic, or friendships. This will depend on your circumstances. Now, with the ruler of this full moon, Mercury, now out of the retrograde phase, in a direct motion, still in the post shadow until the 16th, but still here with Mercury now out of the retrograde, there is this generally it's easier to communicate, it's easier to express your thoughts, but this could also indicate that perhaps any misunderstandings that you may have experienced in the recent past, they are clearing away. There is a chance for resolution, there is a chance for healing as well. But we've got lots of interesting energies because Mercury is in Scorpio now, the ruler of this full moon, which is connected to depth. Nothing of a superficial, surface level nature is going to satisfy you. Here with Mercury in Scorpio, you seek profoundness, you want to get to the root of any issue, problem. So for this reason, it's a good full moon for clarifying things that perhaps were unclear, for resolving any conflict issues, for example, as well. But at the same time, we also have a beautiful trine to Saturn, which offers stability, which also helps you to make lasting decisions. This could be about signing some important long-term contracts during this time, establishing long-term connections, relationships. We have a trine to Jupiter, which of course, all in all, for these three planets form water grand trine, which can indicate positive outcomes of the decisions that you establish around this time. The influence of Saturn here, Saturn can help you make doable and practical solutions. So overall, with this full moon, this is a time to clarify your expectations. This is a time when you might be making some important decisions with your partner, with your business partner. So it's all surrounded around your relationships, connections, contracts, lots of positive energies. But at the same time, this is with the nodes being activated as well. This is a chance also to see perhaps perhaps implementing some adjustments into your career and life balance, especially if you feel like any imbalance that occurred in these areas of life affected your personal relationships as well as your own well-being. So thank you very much, Sagittarius. Right. So Capricorns, welcome to this full moon in Gemini horoscope. So here with this full moon, we've got a full moon taking place in your sixth house. Sixth house deals with your health, everyday life, your lifestyle, your relationship with your coworkers, your work environment as well. I really enjoy talking about full moons in the sixth house because there's so much that can be discussed here. This is our everyday reality, our lifestyle here. This full moon connects to the new moon that took place back in June 2024. If we look at it from the gestation lunar cycle, which lasts 2 years and 7 months. So think about any lifestyle changes that occurred, that you initiated during that time. This could be also connected to perhaps changes to your work schedule, anything to do with your well-being as well. So overall, full moons bring into light things that have been generally happening beneath the surface. And this is when we gain better clarity of what's working and what isn't working. We've got the nodal axis activated at this time as well by a square coming from this full moon, which also could manifest as repeated lessons, things that have to be addressed, reevaluated, maybe connected to your lifestyle. See what perhaps, if anything, out of balance, chaotic, perhaps that is affecting your productivity, that is affecting your daily life on daily basis now can be addressed. This is a good time for generally eliminating, letting go any habits, responsibilities that generally don't work, any generally life work schedules. So this is a chance for reshaping or readjusting your daily reality, your daily life. This full moon is also connected to self-improvement, so a good time for also reevaluating your exercise routine, your diet, your health. You might be also having some health checkups, blood tests around this time, and to see whether there is any deficiency here happening, especially since, of course, you've got Uranus coming up here. So there will be some lifestyle changes coming up if they haven't already, which could indicate perhaps this strong need to eat healthier, perhaps to eat less carbs or to exercise more. So Uranus will bring these shifts into your life without a doubt. Maybe working from home, working more from the office. Whatever the scenario, this will depend on your circumstances. But overall, this full moon in the sixth house very often bring these lives, the needs to change your life. Then they highlight matters, themes connected to self-improvement, self-care. And with the full moon, maybe your pet might need your attention. The sixth house is connected to small pets as well. A few important aspects. We've got the ruler of this full moon is Mercury is in Scorpio. It connects beautifully to Saturn and Jupiter. With Jupiter, this is generally the decisions that you make around this time. These, if it's about your lifestyle, it's your routine, your work and life balance, your work schedule. Here, it's essential that you think them through. It's about thoughtful, considered decisions, not impulsive decisions necessarily, because Mercury is the sign of duality. So you might be contemplating which direction to take, which routine to follow, for example. Give yourself some time, go with the flow. You don't have to rush with anything too quickly. See what's working. If something isn't working, you can always readjust to see how it goes. So this is generally, this sort of approach will here help you to generally come up with solutions that are doable, that are realistic and lasting here, with Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, connecting beautifully to Saturn, which is about stability, grounded energy. Thank you very much, Capricorns. And now Aquarius, welcome to this full moon in Gemini horoscope. This full moon activates your fifth house, which deals with children and creativity, romance, that creative self-expression, self-employment, freelancing as well. So think about that new moon in Gemini that took place back in June 2024. Here we are looking at a bigger picture, the gestation lunar cycle, which lasts 2 years and 7 months. See what you started around that new moon, whether that was a new creative project, new hobby, a new romantic relationship, anything to do with parenting, children, family planning, for example. Here, generally, during a full moon, the full moon usually brings to light what was perhaps overlooked, what was behind this, generally what was happening beneath the surface, behind the scenes. So generally with the Gemini full moon, the sign of duality, which could also make you in two minds, here you are dealing with matters connected to parenting. So perhaps this full moon could help you see what's working and what isn't working, what needs to be changed here in this regard. This full moon for some, this could manifest also as your relationship, your romantic relationship. You might be in two minds. Is it working? Perhaps it isn't working. So this is a time to think carefully, to be flexible, adaptable, and grounded in your decisions, because the ruler of this full moon is Mercury. Mercury is in Scorpio, which can bring a lot of profound and deep energy, deep thinking, seeing things through raw energy, so raw. And Mercury in Scorpio is more observant rather than talkative. So we observe, we feel. This is a good time for having these deep conversations. Anything of a superficial, shallow, surface level nature is not going to satisfy us. But here, this full moon is also connected to your creative projects. Perhaps you'll be finishing an important project, work project, for example, contract, finalizing something of an important nature. This could be about a new opportunity coming up as well for you. Now, Uranus was here temporarily between July and October, beginning of November, and it will come back here next year in May. So for many Aquarius, this could generally indicate us getting into freelancing, self-employment, especially if you've been thinking about this, if you've been wanting to do this or try something like this. This full moon could generally bring this sort of ideas and this kind of opportunities to light. But at the same time, this full moon could also generally bring more depth, more profound energy into your relationships. So this could indicate that you'll be deepening this connection, for example. This full moon could also bring opportunities for perhaps even if it's connected to your own business, if you work with children, young people, if you organize workshops, perhaps there is a momentum, some kind of recognition happening in this area of your life. We've got a square to the nodal axis coming from this full moon, which also indicates that perhaps it's time to move away from any outlived perhaps beliefs, habits that hold you back from living your life to the fullest or fully, that hold you back from expressing yourself authentically and confidently. So this is also a chance to heal your inner child, move away from any negative habits, people even that make you feel stuck. Now, at the same time, we've got a beautiful trine to Saturn and to Jupiter coming from Mercury, the ruler of this full moon. Mercury is now in a direct motion, still in the post shadow until the 16th. But overall, Mercury in a direct motion restores clarity in the communication area of your life. Now, overall, this full moon is connected to your passions, to what generally brings that sense of joy, happiness into your life. And this could be a time when you'll be reconnecting with your passions, with a project that was on hold. Perhaps you'll be engaging in some really deep and profound conversations with someone who is very close to you. All right, so thank you so much, Aquarius. And now Pisces, welcome to your full moon in Gemini horoscope happening at 13 degrees of Gemini on December the 4th. Now, just to let you know, this full moon, if you haven't watched the beginning of this video, this full moon connects to the new moon that took place on the 6th of June 2024. If we look at it from the gestation lunar cycle that lasts 2 years and 7 months. So think about what you started in your life, in your home life, in your family life back in June 2024, because those energies from that time, people, situations could now also be a part of this full moon energy for you. This is the final full moon of the year. Now, here Gemini is a mutable sign, same as yourself, Pisces. And interestingly, this full moon connects to the North Node that's currently transiting your first house and the South Node that's in your 7th house, the South Node in Virgo. So here, this could indicate that perhaps you'll be dealing with some repeated lessons. Perhaps there is a chance to do it right this time around, especially in connection to the people in your life, the people who are close to your heart. Now, this full moon is a very private full moon. It activates the private area of your life, your area of home, family, emotional stability and security. Bear in mind that Uranus was here for a few months between July the 7th and round about the 9th of November. So you may have already experienced some shifts of energy in the area of home, emotional well-being. But during this time, during this full moon, for some, this could indicate that perhaps you'll be dealing with some major renovations, and perhaps you'll be changing some furniture in your home. Maybe you're moving out, in or out. Now, at the same time, this full moon could also indicate that perhaps you might have this really strong need to declutter, get rid of things that you don't need anymore. Maybe some old newspapers, maybe perhaps you might be donating some books, reorganizing your bookshelves, your office space, your desk. So we are looking at these Gemini energies. Of course, Gemini is the sign of communication, our thinking processes. But when it comes to the physical objects at our home, this would be radio, TV, magazines, generally anything that provides information, anything that is connected to learning, but also pieces of furniture, your bookshelves and desks. So You might be decluttering your space. You might be donating perhaps some books. At the same time, you might be also reflecting on your living situation. If there is some kind of instability, if something is out of balance, especially since the 13th degree of this full moon is ruled by Venus. Venus is all about balance, harmony. Anything out of balance becomes more visible, more noticeable, giving you a chance for resolution, for finding solutions, durable solutions, lasting solutions, especially since Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is in Scorpio, connecting to both Saturn and Jupiter by a beautiful trine, with a water trine, of course, one of the water grand trine, which heightened your intuition being a water sign. But at the same time here, this isn't the time to rush with anything. Go with flow, see what's working, what isn't, and at the same time work with the energies accordingly. Now, with Mercury connecting with Saturn, this can help you to see things from a more practical, grounded angle, and Jupiter offers hope, optimism as well. So it's a good time for bringing more peace, more comfort into your home. Even decluttering can bring that well-needed peace of mind. If you experience some miscommunications, misunderstandings with a family member, this full moon with Mercury, the ruler, being in Scorpio, helps you to get to the root of any issue, problem. Here, this helps you to resolve any deeper aspects of your emotional life, home life. So thank you so much, Pisces, and all the best.